Captain Zach Morrison floated helplessly in the cold vacuum of space, his oxygen running dangerously low. The small escape pod from the mining vessel Titan's Edge had been his home for 3 days now, ever since the Veltar raiders destroyed his ship and crew. The alien pirates had left no survivors, or so they thought. Zach pressed his face against the tiny porthole, watching the distant stars. His engineering background told him exactly how much time he had left. Maybe 6 hours, of breathable air if he stayed calm. The emergency beacon had been broadcasting continuously, but out here in the frontier systems, rescue seemed impossible. The Veltar were known throughout human space as ruthless scavengers. Their sleek, blade-like ships would appear without warning, strip mining vessels of valuable resources, and disappear into the void. They considered humans weak, calling them soft meat in their guttural language. Zach had heard their mocking laughter as they destroyed his friends. As an engineer, Zach had spent 15 years maintaining deep space mining equipment. He understood machines better than people, could fix anything with spare parts and determination. But floating in this tiny pod, all his skills seemed useless. The emergency systems were basic: life support, beacon, and nothing else. He thought about his sister Emma back on Earth, probably wondering why his weekly calls had stopped. She'd warned him about taking dangerous frontier jobs, but the pay was too good to resist. Now he wished he'd listened. The stars began to blur as exhaustion took hold. Zach had been conserving energy, moving as little as possible to preserve oxygen. His stomach cramped from hunger, and his lips were cracked from dehydration. The pod's recycling systems could only do so much. Then something caught his eye, a distant glint against the star field. At first, he thought it was another piece of debris from his destroyed ship, but the glint was moving, growing larger. Zach's heart began to race, using precious oxygen, but he couldn't help himself. A ship was approaching, but it wasn't Veltar. The hull design was unfamiliar, angular and aggressive, covered in what looked like heavy armor plating. Strange energy. Signatures danced along its surface, and weapon ports bristled from every angle. This wasn't any human design, Zach recognized. The massive vessel slowed as it approached his tiny pod. Zach activated his emergency communicator, hoping whoever was inside would understand basic Galactic standard language. "This is Engineer Zach Morrison of the mining vessel Titan's Edge," he transmitted. "My ship was destroyed by Veltar raiders. I'm running low on life support and request immediate assistance." For long moments, there was only silence. Then a voice crackled through the comm system, human, but with an accent Zach had never heard before. "Engineer Morrison, this is Commander Rex Steele of the TCS Retribution. We've been tracking those Veltar bastards for weeks. Prepare for emergency docking." Part 2. The Mysterious Rescuers. The docking bay of the Retribution was unlike anything Zach had ever seen. The walls were lined with advanced technology that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. Armed soldiers in black armor waited as his pod was brought aboard, their weapons unlike standard human military equipment. Commander Rex Steele was a tall man with silver hair and scars across his weathered face. His uniform bore no insignia, Zach recognized, and his eyes held the cold efficiency of someone who had seen too much combat. "Welcome aboard, Engineer," Rex said, extending a hand. "You're lucky we were in the area. The Veltar don't usually leave survivors." Zach accepted the help, standing up, his legs weak from days in the cramped pod. "I've never seen a ship like this. What branch of the military are you with?" Rex exchanged glances with his officers. "That's classified. What matters is that you're safe now. But we need to know everything about the attack. The Veltar have been getting bolder lately." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Zach marveled at the technology surrounding him. The hull plates seemed to absorb energy rather than reflect it, and the weapon systems were far beyond anything he'd studied in engineering school. This was human technology, but advanced by decades, beyond standard colonial equipment. How many ships did they have? Asked Lieutenant Kate Rodriguez, a sharp-eyed woman who carried herself like a career soldier. 3 raiders, maybe 4, Zach replied. They came out of nowhere, disabled our engines with some kind of plasma weapon, then boarded. My crew tried to fight, but they were slaughtered. Rex's jaw tightened. The Veltar have been testing human defenses, probing for weaknesses. Each attack gets more violent. They entered a briefing room where holographic displays showed star charts and tactical information. Zach recognized some of the mining routes, but many locations were marked with symbols he didn't understand. Engineer Morrison, Rex continued, what I'm about to tell you is highly classified. There are elements within human space that have been preparing for a larger conflict. The Veltar aren't just random pirates. They're scouts for something much worse. The hologram shifted to show massive alien fleet formations, ships the size of cities, bristling with weapons and carrying hundreds of thousands of warriors. Zach felt his blood run cold. The Veltar Empire has been expanding for centuries, Lieutenant Rodriguez explained. They view humans as inferior, suitable only for slavery or extermination. The raiding parties are just the beginning. Rex activated another display showing the Retribution's weapon systems. We've been developing countermeasures, studying captured Veltar technology, preparing for the war that's coming whether we want it or not. Zach studied the technical specifications, his engineering mind automatically analyzing the designs. These power signatures are incredible. How did you achieve this level of efficiency? Human ingenuity, Rex smiled grimly. When our species is threatened, we adapt, we innovate, we refuse to give up. The ship suddenly shuddered as alarms began. And blaring, red lights flashed throughout the briefing room as Rex's communicator crackled to life. Commander, we've got multiple Veltar signatures dropping out of hyperspace, reported the bridge. Looks like a full raiding fleet. 12 ships, heavy cruiser class. Rex stood immediately. They followed Morrison's beacon. Battle stations. All hands. This is what we've been training for. As they rushed toward the bridge, Zach felt a mixture of terror and excitement. He was about to witness humanity's secret weapons in action against their alien enemies. The Bridge of the Retribution was a masterpiece of advanced human engineering. Holographic displays surrounded every station, showing tactical information in 3 dimensions. Captain Victoria Cross stood at the center, her silver hair pulled back in a military bun, her eyes focused on the approaching enemy fleet. Veltar ships are moving into attack formation, reported Navigation Officer Marcus Webb. 12 vessels, including what looks like their new heavy assault class. Zach watched in amazement as the crew worked with perfect coordination. These weren't regular colonial marines. They moved with the precision of elite special forces, operating technology far beyond standard human military equipment. Engineer Morrison, Captain Cross called out, you mentioned these raiders destroyed your mining ship easily. What kind of weapons did they use? Plasma cannons that cut through. Our hull like paper, Zach replied. Our defensive screens didn't even slow them down. Victoria nodded grimly. Standard colonial equipment isn't designed for real warfare. The corporations cut costs wherever possible. She turned to her weapons officer. Lieutenant Jake Harrison, prepare the quantum torpedo tubes. Let's show these aliens what human innovation really looks like. The main display showed the Veltar fleet approaching in their typical arrowhead formation. Their ships were sleek and predatory, covered in organic-looking armor that seemed to ripple in the starlight. Energy weapons glowed along their hulls, like angry eyes. Commander Steele, Victoria continued, signal the vengeance and defiance. Time to reveal ourselves. Zach gasped as 2 more massive warships decloaked nearby. The human fleet had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Each vessel was as advanced as the Retribution, bristling with weapons he couldn't identify. The Veltar have been hunting human civilians for months, Rex explained quietly. They think we're defenseless. that our scattered colonies are easy. Prey. Today they learn otherwise. The enemy fleet opened fire first, sending streams of plasma toward the human ships, but instead of trying to dodge, the retribution held its course. The plasma bolts struck some kind of energy barrier and simply disappeared. Adaptive shielding, Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered to Zack. We studied their weapons, learned how they work, then built defenses they can't penetrate. Now it was humanity's turn. The quantum torpedoes launched from the retribution weren't visible to the naked eye, but their effects were devastating. The lead Veltar cruiser simply vanished, its molecular structure disrupted at the atomic level. The remaining alien ships scattered in confusion, their formation broken. They had expected easy prey, not advanced human warships with superior technology. Focus. Fire on their heavy cruiser, Victoria ordered. Don't let any of them escape to report our capabilities. The 3 human ships moved like wolves hunting in a pack. Their weapons were precise and deadly, each shot calculated for maximum effect. The Veltar returned fire desperately, but their plasma weapons were useless against human adaptive shields. Within minutes, the entire enemy fleet was destroyed. Debris floated where proud alien warships had been, their crews never understanding how badly they had underestimated humanity. Clean sweep, reported Marcus from navigation. No survivors, no escape pods. Zack stared at the destruction in awe. How long have you been preparing for this? How many ships do you have? Rex and Victoria exchanged meaningful looks. Engineer Morrison, the captain said slowly, what you've witnessed today is classified beyond any security level you've ever heard of. Humanity has been building a secret fleet for years, preparing for the war that's coming. The corporations and colonial governments don't know we exist, Rex added. While they focus on profits and politics, we've been getting ready to defend our species. Victoria walked to the main display, her expression serious. The Veltar Empire controls hundreds of star systems. They have millions of ships and billions of warriors. But they made one crucial mistake. They underestimated human determination. The display showed hidden shipyards, secret training facilities, and advanced research stations scattered throughout human space. Humanity's shadow fleet was larger than Zack had imagined. 3 weeks after the rescue, Zack found himself aboard the Retribution as it patrolled the outer rim systems. Commander Steele had offered him a choice: return to civilian life with his memory wiped or join the secret fleet as a technical specialist. The decision had been easy. Now he worked alongside Chief Engineer Diana Wells, a brilliant woman who had helped design the advanced human weapon systems. Together they maintained the ship's quantum drives and adaptive defenses, technology that gave humanity an edge against alien threats. The Veltar aren't stupid, Diana explained as they calibrated the torpedo tubes. They'll figure out that. Their raiding parties are disappearing. When they do, they'll send something bigger. Her words proved prophetic. Long-range sensors detected a massive energy signature approaching from deep space, something far larger than any ship they'd encountered before. Battle stations, Victoria's voice echoed through the ship. All hands to emergency positions. This is not a drill. On the bridge, the tactical display showed an enormous Veltar vessel emerging from hyperspace. It was 3 times the size of their heavy cruisers, covered in weapon ports and defensive systems. This was clearly a ship designed for serious warfare. My God, breathed Navigation Officer Webb. That's a Veltar dreadnought. Intelligence said they only had 2 or 3 in their entire fleet. The massive alien warship hung in space like a predatory beast, its hull covered in the same organic-looking armor as smaller Veltar vessels. Energy signatures indicated weapons powerful enough to crack planets. They're scanning us, reported Communications Officer Lisa Park. Wait, I'm receiving a transmission. The main screen filled with the image of a Veltar commander. The alien was larger than the usual raiders, with additional battle scars and ceremonial markings. When it spoke, its voice was a deep growl filled with hatred. "Soft meat humans," the creature snarled in broken galactic standard. "You killed my warriors. Now Warlord Kresh will crush your pathetic ships and feast on your bones." Victoria stepped forward, her expression calm despite facing a vessel that outgunned them 10-1. "This is Captain Cross of the Terran Defense Fleet. Your forces attacked civilian mining vessels. We responded appropriately." The Veltar warlord laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Terran Defense Fleet? We know of no such thing. Human military is weak, scattered. You are pretending to be strong." "Let me show you how wrong you are," Victoria replied coldly. The dreadnought opened fire with weapons that dwarfed anything they'd faced before. Massive plasma bolts struck the Retribution's shields, causing the entire ship to shudder. But the adaptive defenses held, absorbing and redirecting the energy. "Return fire," Victoria ordered. Full spread, quantum torpedoes. The human weapons struck the alien dreadnought's hull, but its armor was thicker than expected. The massive ship barely slowed as it continued its assault. "Hull plating at 60%. Diana reported from engineering. "Those weapons are more powerful than our models predicted." Zack worked frantically at his console, analyzing the enemy's energy patterns. His engineering training kicked in as he studied their weapon signatures. "Captain," he called out, "their plasma cannons have a cycling period. There's a 3-second gap between volleys where their defensive screens drop." Victoria smiled grimly. "Marcus, plot an attack run. Time our weapons for that gap." The Retribution accelerated toward the massive dreadnought, dodging plasma bolts that could have vaporized a city. At exactly the right moment, they fired everything they had directly at the alien ship's bridge section. The quantum torpedoes punched through the dreadnought's weakened defenses, causing a series of explosions along its hull. The massive vessel began to list, its weapon fire becoming erratic. "Direct hit on their command center," reported Lieutenant Harrison, "but they're still functional." The wounded dreadnought tried to retreat, but Victoria wasn't finished. "All ships converge on target. Don't let it escape." The Vengeance and Defiance appeared from their patrol positions, adding their firepower to the attack. Together, the 3 human warships hammered the alien dreadnought until its hull began to crack. Finally, with a brilliant flash of light, the massive Veltar vessel exploded. The shockwave rocked all 3 human ships, but they had survived humanity's first encounter with the enemy's capital ships. In the weeks following the dreadnought's destruction, everything changed. The Veltar Empire finally understood that humanity possessed advanced military capabilities, and their response was swift and brutal. Alien fleets began massing on the borders of human space, preparing for total war. Admiral Patricia Kane stood in the command center of humanity's most secret facility, Station Omega, hidden in an asteroid field beyond the outer colonies. Around her, dozens of screens showed the movement of enemy fleets throughout the galaxy. "The Veltar are mobilizing everything they have," reported Intelligence Director Robert Chen. "Our deep space monitors show at least 50 dreadnoughts moving toward human territory." Zack had been promoted to Senior Technical Specialist, his engineering expertise proving invaluable in the preparations for war. He worked alongside teams of scientists and military experts, all focused on one goal: keeping humanity alive. "How many ships do we have ready?" Admiral Kane asked. Captain Cross, now promoted to fleet operations, studied her tactical displays. 37 fully operational warships, with another 20 in final construction phases. "We're outnumbered, but our technology advantage is significant." The secret human fleet had been building for years, hidden from both alien enemies and their own civilian governments. While corporations focused on profits and politicians played their games, dedicated soldiers and scientists had prepared for the war everyone knew was coming. "The Veltar think they're fighting scattered human colonies," Admiral Kane continued. They have no idea we've been coordinating our defenses. That's our greatest advantage." Commander Steele entered the briefing room, his expression grim. Long-range scouts report enemy advance forces entering the Centauri system. They're targeting civilian populations first, trying to spread terror. This was exactly what the secret fleet had been created to prevent. While humanity's official military forces were scattered and under-equipped, the Shadow Fleet possessed weapons and technology capable of fighting a galactic war. "All ships, prepare for immediate deployment," Admiral Kane ordered. "This is what we've trained for. Today, humanity shows the galaxy that we refuse to be victims." Zack found himself back aboard the Retribution as the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. The ship's crew worked with practiced efficiency, their faces determined but calm. They had spent years preparing for this moment. Engineer Morrison. Captain Cross called out, "I need maximum power to weapons and shields. We're going to face odds that would terrify most species." "Understood, Captain," Zack replied, his hands flying over the engineering controls, all systems operating at peak efficiency. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Zack thought about his journey from a simple mining engineer to a crucial part of humanity's defense. The Veltar had made a fatal mistake when they attacked innocent civilians. They had awakened something they didn't understand. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Centauri system, where Veltar raiders were attacking helpless colony ships. But instead of defenseless victims, the aliens found themselves facing advanced human warships with weapons they had never encountered. "All ships, engage at will," Admiral Kane's voice echoed across the fleet communication channels. "Show them what happens when you threaten humanity." The battle that followed would be remembered as the beginning of humanity's rise as a galactic power. Quantum torpedoes and adaptive shields proved superior to Veltar technology, while human tactics and determination overcame numerical disadvantages. As enemy ships exploded around them, Zack realized that this was more than just a military victory. This was the moment humanity announced to the galaxy that they would not be conquered, would not be enslaved, and would not go quietly into extinction.